Well, welcome everybody to today's show. It's going to be a big one. Can't say I'm happy about what we're talking about, but I'm happy you're here for it. So let's start with Elon, DOGE, and Trump. Some crazy updates on that front, including more information about a leak scandal, and then additionally, a whistleblower bombshell. And on top of that, someone unexpected may have the solution to national unity. So we'll check in on all of that. Let's start with this clip of Trump. You might remember back when the New York Times reported that Elon Musk was going to sit in for a briefing by the Pentagon on war plans or the potential for how we'd handle war with China if it were to come to that. Trump absolutely freaked out over this. And he said this was fake news. There was no such plans. Well, we have more information about that now that we'll get to, but first to give you a sense of the denial that we saw for Trump before the most recent reporting on this.
I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position. But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources, or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made-up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people.
And something else.
Now, while he acted like this was completely made up, in reality, behind the scenes, he found out that this got released to the New York Times. We have Pentagon officials being escorted out for supposedly leaking this to the New York Times of the Pentagon, and Trump privately losing it at Elon and the idea of him being at this meeting and saying, keep him out of it. The Axios reports beyond tariffs and court battles over Trump policies, two pieces of White House palace intrigue emerged Tuesday. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suspended two top Pentagon officials, Dan Caldwell and Darren Selnick, as part of an investigation into who leaked word of a planned top secret briefing on China for Elon Musk. Axios learned that Musk or Hegseth didn't just decide to call off that briefing after the leak. In reality, President Trump himself ordered staffers to kill it. What the F is Elon doing there? Says Trump. But he didn't say F, he said the real word. Make sure he doesn't go, Trump said, a top official recalled to Axios. Musk has annoyed several administration officials with his constant presence at the White House, his haphazard social media posts, and his slash and burn tactics at his Department of Government Efficiency. No word on if the Trump administration officials have any thoughts on his legion of secret babies, as we'll talk about later in today's show. Pretty wild little note about him. That man has been getting it on. The planned Pentagon briefing, however, got him cross with the boss at the Resolute desk. POTUS still very much loves Elon, but there are some red lines. Elon has a lot of business in China. He has good relations there, and this briefing just wasn't the right thing. And it goes on to talk about how Trump called this fake news. But in reality, he had to snap at Elon and his own officials saying, why the heck is he scheduled to be a part of this? And that's the thing. There's just no connection to truth. Instead of Trump going, yes, I learned that was a plan. I wasn't aware of it and I've called it off, which would be honest. Instead, he says it's a complete fabrication from a failing newspaper that doesn't even have sources. They just make them up. Now that reporting about sort of the logistics chaos where if this weren't reported by the New York Times, it's very reasonable to assume that Elon would have gotten this top secret briefing about China war, I say plans, not because we're going to war with them, but forecasted plans if things came to that. Well, that is layered on top of total chaos within the ranks of the government, where now there's a bombshell whistleblower alleging something pretty chilling. Let's get to that now. Reuters reports a whistleblower complaint says that billionaire Elon Musk's team of technologists. Actually, before we continue that, going back to this, the whole Pentagon officials being fired, put on leave, and then walked out of the Pentagon, That also is quite the contradiction. No one leaked that because it's fake, but whoever leaked it, we're going to punish. The New York Times made this up. They don't have any sources, but also we found the sources and we're going to walk them out. Okay, pick one. All right, back to this. A whistleblower complaint says that billionaire Elon Musk's team of technologists may have been responsible for a significant cybersecurity breach, likely of sensitive case files at America's federal labor watchdog. And we will look at the whistleblower himself explain some of the concerning components of this, which is that he came across in his work at the National Labor Relations Board this huge extraction of data by DOGE. And then a particularly concerning point here is that at least this whistleblower, Daniel Baralis, what he's alleging is that IP addresses in Russia were using the DOGE username and passwords correctly. Luckily, they blocked those from being accessed because of the origin of the attempted access, but they had the correct username and passwords of these DOGE employees to access sensitive information as a bunch of sensitive information is being extracted from the database of the NLRB. And then one other component, I'll play this for you, that he goes through in one of these interviews is that they're hearing across the government similar stories. It's just Daniel willing to blow the whistle. And so what other institutions in our government have had massive data breaches and folks in Russia having the correct username and passwords to access it?
We reached out to the White House about your claims, which obviously were made public when you came forward and went to Congress. You got this statement, quote, "It is months old news that President Trump signed an executive order to hire DOGE employees at agencies and coordinate data sharing. Their highly qualified team has been extremely public and transparent in its efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse across the executive branch, including the National Labor Relations Board," unquote. What's your response to that?
So I believe that if that was true, we would have access to the code that they're running. We would be able to see these things that they're hiding. I don't believe that there's transparency, and that's all I'm asking for here.
And Andrew, give us the view, the 30,000-foot view here, because obviously this data could be beneficial to others, either corporations or even a foreign actor with malign intention. How do you know that?
So we know that because the information that the National Labor Relations Board looks at are basically corporate documents and things that involve unions. So there's a lot of sensitive corporate information that is included within this, which yes could be of interest to Elon Musk, but at the same time they're of interest to our foreign adversaries. I'd like to step back for a moment and talk about what the larger implication is here. So this is happening at the NLRB, at the National Labor Relations Board, but Dan is brave enough to come forward, and there are others within the government that I've talked to and that we've talked to who have seen something identical as this. There are two data points that I want to point out that should give everybody pause. The first thing, what Dan witnessed, was that within 15 minutes of DOGE employees creating user accounts, i.e. usernames and passwords, within 15 minutes of those accounts being created, somebody or something from Russia tried to log in with the right username and right passwords, that is to say, the right credentials. And that happened over 20 times. The second data point, which is really critical, is that DOGE has also been using Starlink as a means to exfiltrate data. What that means is that, from our understanding, that Russia has a direct pipeline of information through Starlink, which means that anything going through Starlink is going to Russia. We also know that this is not unique to the NLRB. This is happening government-wide. And then the other thing that I wanted to flag for everybody is that right now, and I don't want to say that this is intentional, it could very well have been a mistake, is that critical infrastructure databases in many government agencies, as we understand it, have been exposed to the open internet, which includes critical databases at the Department of Energy, which includes a lot of our nuclear regulatory agency material. So right now, the real concern is that this is not unlike Chernobyl and all of the control panels lighting up after the meltdown. This is serious, and I just want to commend Dan for coming forward to bring this to everybody's attention, because this really is the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, and I really, commend as well Daniel for being willing to come forward. he went on to Rachel Maddow's show to say that as he started bringing these concerns forward, immediately he was threatened.
And your colleagues at NLRB had decided to pursue a formal investigation into what you regarded as a breach of the data and systems at your agency. You prepared a request to CISA at the Department of Homeland Security to help you with that investigation. And then you received a threat at your home where you live?
Where I hadn't lived for too long either. I've only been there 2 months. The only place that I've actually updated that address is in the OPM database for my payroll with the government. That's really, I haven't even updated my bank card yet. So,
can you tell?
Extremely frightening. And if all of this proves to be true, it really could, as the lawyer was saying, be the tip of the iceberg. And he referenced, we don't know what's intentional and what's not. That's the question that we keep being faced with, which is this a malicious plot whenever things start getting leaked in every different direction? The Russian component of this all? Or is this just their incompetence? Either way, they're putting our government and thus our people in a really dangerous situation. Now, for a moment of lightheartedness, amid all of this division and real stories that are freaking us out, there is something hopeful. And I'll let Katy Perry explain.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
I don't know what that means. We weren't just taking up space, we were making it. So this is, of course, Katy Perry, which, okay, I'm a Katy Perry fan. I love Katy Perry. But this whole thing, I think most people are confused. What happened? They went to space briefly, a Blue Origin, a flight, Jeff Bezos' thing. They went to space. But then there's been these press appearances that have really been baffling me. So I guess she's saying a takeaway from their journey to space is that we could use that to unify. I don't know. What?
That and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space for the future. And for me, like Gail said, this wasn't a ride, it wasn't a destination. It was a journey, and it was a supernatural one. And my journey has always been about love and belonging. And I think that we have all felt that sometimes we weren't worthy or we didn't belong, and in certain ways, no matter all the accolades, no matter all the studying, no matter anything. And I think today we all said it, like, we belong here. Mm-hmm. This is where we belong. And
so there's been a lot of, I saw even Gayle King was getting annoyed with some of the responses of people mocking them and stuff. I'm still thinking about, we weren't taking up space, we were making it. Wow. Okay. The reason it's fine. Go to space. You want to go to space, go to space and have your takeaways. That's awesome. I just don't think many people know what they're supposed to care about this, because there's been a lot of like these huge universal takeaways. Most people don't. I didn't even know, wait, what were they doing? What was the... What? But then there's a lot of this, like, I guess it was this history making. No one really knows what happened. It kind of just happened. And now it's like, this is going to be the great uniter. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I say that with love. And then let me see if I can find this Gayle King clip, because there's annoyance from the people who went up on Blue Origin and did the they're saying they don't want us to call it a trip, but a flight or a journey. And that it's been really sad to see people's responses. Just so you know, we're just in an environment right now where when people can't afford basic needs, there's just a culture of mocking when really wealthy people go and do really wealthy people things, right? Even if it's cool, it's just sort of, there's it's very in right now for many justifiable reasons, just to kind of laugh whenever we're supposed to be real wowed when something that most people aren't going to get the opportunity to do.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. And this is what I would say to that. Space is not an either or, it's a both and. And because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet cleaner. I mean, Jeff Bezos has so many ideas, and the people that are working there are really devoted and dedicated to making our planet a better place. That's number one. Number two, have you been? Have you been? If you've been and you still feel that way after you come back, please let's have a conversation.
What? I'm missing something. What is it that people are saying? Because I've seen from a lot of the people who went. I'm using the words because they've been saying, don't say this, don't say this, say this. But I guess they didn't like the people were saying a group of women went up, because do you say that when it's a group of men? I don't know. I'm lost. Okay, I'm just completely lost. But the folks that went up to space for a brief time and then kissed the Earth when they come back, it's cool. It is. But a lot of people are going, what? That you're doing that and we're trying to gut medicate? It doesn't, something feels off, right? It just feels off. That's what people are saying. It's not against you, Gail or Katie. We love you. We love you. But what? And then there's these big takeaways about how something magical, like we're going to bring love. I don't know. I think I love love. Anyone loves love. I love love. Okay. But love right now is in a headlock. Okay. We're in a headlock right now.
Number three, please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day, pretty much. No one called that a ride. It was called a flight. It was called a journey, because a ride implies that it's something frivolous or something that's lighthearted. There was nothing frivolous about what we did.
But what did it do? Is it that like they were testing that later we're going to be able to do something in space? But we already got people to space. We've already done that. What's the thing? What's the thing? I'm missing it. I'm missing it, Gail. And I say that with respect. I just don't know. It wasn't a ride. It was a trip, or it wasn't a trip. It was a flight. And are y'all astronauts? I don't know. Don't the astronauts like do what? I'm confused.
And the machine that we were on, and what it took for the people to get that machine up and running, to get us up and get us back down safely. So, you know, I'm very disappointed and very saddened by it. And I also say this, what it's doing to inspire other women and young girls, please don't ignore that. I've had so many women and young girls reach out to me, and men too, by the way, men too, that say, wow, I never thought I could do that, but I see you doing it at this stage of my life. Who would have thunk it? Not me.
Yeah, again, I'm just stumbling across these clips. Maybe they trained and did different things, and there's, you know, some. But maybe Trump sees this and goes, hey, let's not gut medicate. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does.
That we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
Yes, just keep it in mind. It's something to think about, okay? No, I really do just think, if you're wealthy, great. And you do something that is a very rare thing that you're getting the opportunity to do because of your status, great. But just be ready online. People are going to make fun of it. That's just kind of that's just what happens, right? It's, even though I find space exploration to be important in a time when our current government is going, we don't have enough money for anything, and all you spoiled brats are using too many benefits, it's not going to be the unifying thing anymore when some person of high status goes and does a high status thing, right? And Jeff Bezos is the one funding it. It's sort of just that imagery is no longer in. That's what I'm explaining. And so you can let me know. You heard the DOGE stuff. Things are falling apart in our government. Is this the saving grace? And remember, don't just take up space. make it. Share your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.